Give me 1 minute. Damn, I need to grab one more thing. Give me 1 second. All right. Nassourdine Imavov is Khamzat Chimaev's next opponent. Let's talk about it. Big unanimous decision win for Imavov, in my opinion. Um, a little bit lackadaisical. You know what I mean? It wasn't the most barn burner ish fight, but Nassourdine got the job done against a tough opponent. One thing I've been saying is once you get to this higher level, you can't just run through everybody. So you got to manage your expectations a little bit. I feel like to put a standard along the lines of get a finish in this fight, or Fluffy's going to come in and if he gets a finish, then you're out. It's like, bro, RDR has been doing great this year. Caio has been running through the middleweight division for the last like 3 years. Okay, so good for RDR, but even if Fluffy runs through RDR, that's not to say, oh, Fluffy would have just like dominated fucking Caio, right? That could have been a close fight too. That's a tough matchup for Fluffy. Okay, Caio's got good grappling, Caio's got good striking, and that's Fluffy's MO too. RDR isn't that good of a striker. He's a really clunky striker. So he's going to be way more open to shots, and best believe a guy like Nassourdine Imavov, okay, could exploit that against RDR too. So, you know, RDR is not apples to apples to Caio, who's been doing this shit for 3 years against everybody. Caio has shocked people more than once as far as the wins he's been able to get. Um, and that's just comparing opponents, right? And pointing out the fact of once you get into a higher echelon of fighters, you can't expect people to run through everybody. That's why even Khamzat DDP, you know, it's a good fight, bro. That's a world championship level fight. When you watch the finals in any sport, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, you know what I mean? It's not going to be as, that's not when you see the big suplex takedowns. You know, that's not when you see that. You see that in the up and coming matches. You know what I mean? The earlier rounds when there's mismatches. But as you get higher up, these matches get closer and closer. And so then to put a crazy expectation like, oh, you didn't knock him out like you did with the guy in the fucking first seed. Of course not. Of course not. He's a fucking beast. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, Imavov is next. On top of that, that's just breaking down that part I just explained. But on top of that, I'm going to say Imavov's next because let's talk about this a little bit. UFC Paris, 5-0. Okay, hometown fighters go 5-0. All right? Clearly, there's an appetite for MMA in Paris. Like, if you don't see what I'm seeing right here, not only the UFC fans are thirsting in Paris, but Paris fans support PFL more than any other country I've seen. This event aside, the fans from Paris support PFL more than anyone I've ever seen. So there's a huge appetite for MMA in Paris. And Fluffy or RDR don't have that. Regardless if they have fan bases or not, I won't even say that they don't have fan bases, but they don't have that, you know? They don't have that thirst from a country. That's a whole nother story. You know, Brazil is always thirsting, you know. Paris, thirstier than Brazil almost, or on that level at the very least. So, one other thing I want to touch on is Imavov and his eye pokes. Gotta get that under control, Imavov. You really do. 2 eye pokes, 1 groin shot, no point deductions. Caio had his own groin shot early in the fight, but Imavov is like notorious for eye pokes. People have been saying it about Imavov, and you gotta wonder, when is a point getting taken? Seems like based off the scorecards, Imavov still would have won because he won by multiple points. But I'm just saying, I feel like in that last round, you gotta get to a point where you take a point. And I know what the ref's gonna say. Don't make me take this win from you. Don't involve me in this fight and make me take the point. But listen, it's not about you, ref. I think we got to get to a point at the very least. If you do that shit twice, it's like a foul in sports in the NFL. It's a foul. It's cut and dry. Point taken. Second one especially. Okay, one of them we can debate that, but 2 of them, come on now. Especially when there was a groin shot landed earlier. We're talking 3 fouls. So I would like to see, you know, some calls on that. Automatic, bro. Rule of thumb. Like, we don't need your opinion to come into it. Rule of thumb. Okay? Rule of thumb. Caio Borralho, you know, I think he put up a decent fight. He tried his best. He made it decently close. But he was just outmatched with Nassoudine's speed. He wasn't able to get any takedowns. Nassoudine's fast as hell. I do think if we're speaking about Nassourdine versus Khamzat, I think Nassoudine's a great opponent for Khamzat. I think he's big. You know, he's big enough to handle Khamzat's strength. I think he's got wrestling enough to give Khamzat a good fight. I think he can also keep training his wrestling and make it difficult for Khamzat. A big stature guy like Nassourdine with a lot of muscle on him, a lot of height, you know, a lot of length. Give him a little bit of extra wrestling experience, and he's going to take that a mile. He's going to take that a long way. So try to imagine like Imavov and Khamzat wrestling in a standard setting. When I try to do that, take it just a standard wrestling match, if you also let Imavov hypothetically train for a few months, 3 to 6 months, okay, Imavov versus Khamzat is going to be a difficult match for Khamzat, whether Khamzat wins or not, because Imavov is a big, strong dude. Okay? Big, strong, young dude. 29 years old. Alright? If Imavov were to ever get into wrestling and him and Khamzat were in the same division, Imavov would be like a fucking nightmare for anybody. That's just my opinion. With proper training. So I'm not saying he's just going to wake up and be great at wrestling because he's big and strong. But I'm saying with his stature, with his athleticism, there's no reason why Imavov can't get up to a decent enough level to give Khamzat enough fits in wrestling. For example, JDM versus Bilal, okay? Obviously, JDM's not not a real wrestler. He's a boxer. But he had enough wrestling in there to really counteract Bilal and give him a really hard time. He's big, you know what I mean? Imavov's big. Then you got the boxing and the quick hands. Imavov's a tough matchup for Khamzat. The way Imavov returns strikes, bro, he's going to be catching Khamzat. Also, last thing about this, Nassourdine. Oh, Nassourdine is a true middleweight, right? Nassourdine has never been able to fight at welterweight. So Khamzat came up from welterweight to middleweight. We all know Khamzat's super strong. Not even going to suggest he's not, but I'm just saying Khamzat's fighting a true middleweight here. A true middleweight who could even probably move up to light heavyweight by the time he's 31, 32. So you're talking about a middleweight, light heavyweight versus a welterweight, middleweight, you know? Here's some post-fight reactions. We got Islam saying, dominant performance, Imavov, congrats, bro. Khamzat, the champ, even reacted to the fight. He said, good fight, assalamu alaikum. Henry Cejudo said, great win for Imavov, but I think the winner of RDR/Fluffy is getting the next title shot. Hashtag UFC Paris. I don't know what Henry's talking about, because this is the other thing I just want to mention is the stats, bro. I mean, let's just stop. I mean, why do we got to do this? Is it because people want to complain about something and they want to argue? Like, it's honestly a really weird one to me why you wouldn't give it to Imavov. We're talking 5-0, okay, in his last 5. Roman Dolidze, Jared Cannonier finish, Brendan Allen decision, Izzy knockout, Caio decision, unanimous. You're talking former champion. Brendan Allen's a huge prospect, you know. Cannonier, former title challenger. Roman Dolidze, not a tough out for anyone. I mean, these are solid wins, bro. He's also got a win over Buckley, you know, and Buckley's a great fighter, and people are going to find that out real soon. The longer things go on, the longer it all plays out. Buckley's here to stay, and in my opinion, you know, you got to win over Buckley. You fought a guy like Sean Strickland. He's fought them all, bro. Former champion Strickland, he lost, but it's all good. He's got that championship experience against champions. You know, they didn't fight in championship bouts, but these are championship level fighters he's been in there with. But nonetheless, I'm almost going on a tangent there. 5-0, recently knocking out Izzy. There's no reason why this man shouldn't get the title shot. There's no reason. Think about it. He beat Roman Dolidze on his first fight of this 5-fight win streak, okay? Now, if you look at Fluffy, and keep in mind, I mean, I know that RDR just beat Whitaker, who's also a former champ, but let's not play it like that, bro. Whitaker hasn't been the champ in like 5 years, okay? Whitaker hasn't been the champ in like 5 years. It ain't like beating Izzy. And I think people are going apples to apples on that too. So what do you know? Fluffy's beat Brendan Allen, and he's beat Roman Dolidze. Now, these were earlier in Imavov's win streak. So, like, Imavov already softened these guys up, so to speak, right? The big difference for Fluffy is that he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-fight win streak. To, what's his name's 5. But, I mean, oh, so they even have a similar opponent in Edmund Shabazian too. I still don't think that the 8-fight win streak warrants an opportunity, okay, over Imavov's level of competition he's faced. Once again, Roman Dolidze, Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, okay, Izzy, and Caio. That is a big fucking 5-fight win streak right there. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says, bro. Any more reactions to it? RDR says, I fell asleep on the couch. Did I miss anything? Paulo Costa goes, hey, I didn't watch the French UFC because it sounds gay, too gay for me. How it goes? Bad, good? Tell me. It was pretty good, but it wasn't. I feel like people are hyping up the card a lot more than maybe it should be hyped up. That's just my opinion. Interesting state, middleweight division. Yeah, fair. It's same reason Brazilians and Daggies get pushed. Yeah, that's why Paris is going to get pushed too. 5-0 for the Paris hometown fighters, bro. That's a dub. The UFC loves to see that. They're going to reward that, bro. They're going to reward Imavov. Think about it, bro. They just went there 5-0. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Showing you can perform in front of your hometown country. I mean, the UFC loves to see that. They love to see that. They can create a market and continue to go back to Paris potentially. You know, they love to see that. Obviously, they're building the market right now. It's already ready to go. All Paris needs is for Imavov to become champ, and it's off to the fucking races. Just like Australia's been over these last few years, Paris would be that way too. Then if Cyril Gahn, hypothetically, were to beat a Tom Aspinall, man, you got the middleweight and the heavyweight champ from Paris. It's about to go crazy in Paris. Definitely he's getting the opportunity. Definitely Imavov's getting the opportunity over the winner of Fluffy, RDR. Who's RDR's best wins? Let's just look that up. One last thing before we kind of go on to the next topic. Okay, RDR's wins. You're talking Bo Nickel, Kevin Holland, Robert Whittaker. Guys, this is just like not, this isn't, I mean, like, we can't do this any longer. Like, Kevin Holland, Bo Nickel, Whittaker, and Hernandez is going to get you a title shot. Not one of those guys are a former champion. Except for Whittaker. But again, Whittaker was a champion 5 fucking years ago. It's not the same thing as beating Izzy. The last two, Whittaker and Hernandez, or Izzy and Caio. It's apples to fucking... You're talking night and day difference. Night and day difference. Just those last 2 wins. There's no way, bro. There's no way. Imavov is next. There's no way. I don't care that it went to a decision. I don't care. Imavov is next. Regardless of his eye pokes. But he better fucking cut that shit out. Now let's go into... I think we should go into Mauricio Ruffy. So Mauricio Ruffy obviously lost tonight. Let me pull this up. Let's actually pull this image up. Okay, give me one moment. I just want to pay BSD some respect here. Okay. So BSD got the upset win in his hometown, baby. Let's go. In his hometown, BSD got the win. Silencing all the doubters. We all saw what Khamzat said. Hate watching on Mauricio. It's all good. I guess Mauricio was talking some shit to Khamzat. But, wait. Okay. So yeah, I guess Ruffy was talking some mess to Khamzat, so Khamzat claps back and he says, win or lose, Ruffy doesn't have any grappling, And then after Ruffy loses, he says, you know, basically, talk is cheap, be quiet, train, work hard. That's the secret to success. But the real storyline here, shout out to BSD, man. I think that Ruffy actually, Ruffy was having his moments in there. He there was a couple times where Ruffy switched and got into what's his name, BSD's guard a couple times, and also I think BSD got reversed on a takedown off the cage one of the times too, and ended up on his back. So there were multiple times where BSD faced adversity from Ruffy, and he still pulled it out. He got the rear naked choke. I think that these two fighters are actually pretty good. I think they're pretty good, to be dead honest with you. I think people are saying like Ruffy's a fucking flop now, he sucks. I don't really think that. I think he got finished, and let's see where he goes from here. He can, one of two ways, but really there's not much, there isn't really. Okay, we'll go into earlier fight on the card. Mason Jones versus Oki Balaji. Oki Balaji got to go back and train jiu-jitsu for 3-4 months. Maybe enter a grappling tournament of some kind, to really get those skills up, because he's far behind in that. He's very far behind. Mauricio Ruffy, I didn't see that at all. He got submitted, but he's not very far behind. The transitions, the comfortability on the ground was there, okay? He ended up just getting submitted by a better BSD. BSD had a great rear naked choke finish. Not a lot of guys are getting submissions like that. But BSD showed that he's been training jiu-jitsu pretty intently, I would say. The way he got that choke above the chin, not a lot of guys in the UFC can finish above the chin. Very few. So, congrats to BSD on the victory. He's back. He proved he's here to stay. People were, doubting him. But congrats to BSD. Congrats to BSD. Moving down on the card, though. Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig, happy retirement, brother. Bukauskas got a great knockout, and pretty much, if we're pulling stuff up, give me 1 second. While we're pulling stuff up, this photo right here says it all, man. Paul Craig versus Modestas Bukauskas. Modestas got pretty close to catching a body here. That's what I was saying. This got freaking freeze framed. But Paul Craig, the way he just wilted his head there, he was fucking hurt bad, bro. He was limp, couldn't even lift up his head. He was really badly hurt here. So hopefully Paul Craig's doing okay. Nasty knockout's part of the game, though. But Bukauskas, he'll just get another whatever opponent. I think he deserves decent opponents, though. For sure, I think Bukauskas deserves decent opponents. For sure. So, he can fight a guy like Bo Nickel and shit like that now that he got a win over Paul Craig. That's what I would say. Bukauskas can fight some good guys. Give him some good guys. Obviously, he got cut from the UFC or not re-signed after that Khalil Roundtree incident with his oblique kick and just destroyed his knee. Won a couple fights after he recovered, got signed to the UFC, and since then, Bukauskas has gone, let's see here, 1, 2, he's gone 6-1 since re-signing with the UFC in 2023, so he's about it, he's active. He's trying to make money. 3 fights this year. 3 fights this year already. 1 fight last year. And 3 fights in 2023. So he's active. 7-4 overall in the UFC. So yeah, Modestas can get anybody he wants, really. I'm not tripping over that. Now, we kind of just touched on it. Mason Jones, Oki Balaji. Mason Jones, elite fighter. I think a lot of people know that about Mason Jones. He's one of the certified fighters out there, full-on mixed martial artist, and it showed. He got rocked and dropped multiple times early in that first round, and he fought his way back, submitted Oki Balaji in the second round, Or sorry, he knocked out Oki Balaji. So, but why I said submitted him, because he used his grappling to really, what's the word I'm looking for? He used his grappling to really make Oki uncomfortable in there. You know, Oki didn't have that grappling, and once Mason kind of realized, like, oh shit, all right, let me use the grappling, slow his hands down a little bit more, exhaust him. Balaji was just almost panicking in there, you know? You could tell the fight was close to being over once Oki didn't get that knockout early. It was like, shit, what else am I supposed to do? He took my best shots. Oki, he would benefit from really improving his grappling. Just the truth. Just the truth. Couple more fights on this main card. Axel Sola, Rise McKee. Axel with a beautiful, beautiful body shot knockout on Rise McKee. I think Axel didn't look the best tonight, but I mean, he pulled it off, so let's see what he can do against a higher ranked opponent. But I was kind of complaining about Axel a little bit throughout that fight. He looked to have weird moments where he wasn't doing well, and then he would fight his way back. So obviously he's got heart, but let's see what he can do. 11-0. He's supposed to be a big prospect for France. So he needs the right matchmaking, though, moving forward, because if you give him the wrong guy, I don't think it'll go well for him. But you can give him another, like, decent opponent who will kind of, like, be like Reese. Like, it's a good test, but generally speaking, they'll find a way to almost lose for themselves. You know, Reese is not doing well in the UFC. He's now 1-5 in the UFC, and he also got cut and came back, and 1-5. Hasn't won since coming back. Oh no, he won one fight when he came back. He was actually coming off a win in his last fight. William Gomez, Robert Ukala. I actually like Robert Ukala. I think he's a decent fighter. I like how he fights. William Gomez, I mean, I guess he just did enough to get the decision. He definitely did enough, I feel like. And not much to say here. One of the only decisions of the night. Let's see. Yeah, one of the two decisions of the night was William Gomez versus Robert Rucala. I'd like to see Rucala come back. I think he'll do decent. I think Rucala will do decent. I like his fighting style. 11-2. William Gomez 15-3. And William Gomez knows how to win, bro. 5-1 in the UFC. He got a win over Joe Anderson Brito. That's a tough opponent right there. Now, as far as, this was one of the greatest cards ever. I mean, it was a great card. Don't get me wrong, it was a great card. It's just, I don't see how we can always equate finishes to, like, whether it was a great card or not. I really like to see high-profile fights, you know? And, yes, there was a lot of finishes tonight, but, like, Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig, because that resulted in a knockout. You know, Balaji versus Mason Jones, it did result in a knockout, but no offense, right? But I couldn't say that because those guys ended in finishes that this is going to be, like, card of the year. Great card, great fan support, but I would just say it's a great event. I wouldn't say it's, like, card of the year by any means. Great event. Okay, how about this? Great event, and maybe, like, lower end of top 5, top 10 cards of the year when it's all said and done. It could be in the middle somewhere. But I don't think it's gonna beat like big events that took place this year, you know, like the one where Patty and Chandler fought. I think that was on a Volks card. I don't think this is gonna overdo that one. I don't think this is gonna overdo Ilya versus Charles. So those had more high-profile fights. They're pay-per-views. It is what it is, right? This might be one of the best fight night cards of the night. I can give you that. One of the best fight nights of the year, probably this one, as far as fight nights go. But Noche UFC's next weekend, so let's see what happens there. There's potential. And that's no shade on the card, but I just see a lot of people really, really glazing the card, and that's fine. But I figure I'll kind of go against the grain there and say, it was a really, really good card. It's just, card of the year is a little bit much for me. Card of the year is a little bit much for me. I've liked more pay-per-views throughout the year. I think that's a little bit of recency bias. And that is pretty much the post show. Let me see if there's anything else. Any other storylines coming out of this? Let me see here. See, like this right here, Homofight goes 9.99 out of 10 for UFC Paris. Um, I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10. Or a 9. An 8.5 or a 9. The biggest thing for me was missing his high-profile matchups, and I'm not saying every card needs to have that. I'm just saying, if you put a bunch of like mid-level, so to speak, guys on a card, and it all gets finishes, I don't think that's the best card, of the year. But I guess if you were rated to how good the event could go, I'd give it like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Depends how you look at it. The event as a solo, like being a success for the UFC, okay, I'll give you that 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. If you compare it to other cards throughout the year, that's when I'll bring it down a little bit. People hopping on the Fighting Nerds bandwagon, not a big deal. Not a big, they're hopping off the Fighting Nerds bandwagon. I think it's not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think that the Fighting Nerds are made it to really high-profile matchups. They got to make some adjustments, and if they can make the right adjustments, they can be back and they can win. They both didn't just get molly-whopped, even though Mauricio got finished. I don't see it like that. I don't see it like that. I'm just scrolling through X right now, looking at some talking points after the card. Sean Strickland goes, Caio is my buddy, but he's an idiot. He trained with us and was useless. Me, what's wrong with you? Caio, I'm cutting. I'm an alternate. So you're giving up 4 weeks of your camp, cutting weight twice while having a fight coming up? Whoever told you to do that, please hit him. So I guess Caio was training with Strickland, and Strickland's like, dude, you're not looking very good. And Caio was complaining about cutting weight already 4 weeks ago. Caio shouldn't have cut that weight. He looked undersized in there, and somewhat like, I don't know, he just looked like he wasn't himself, really. I think that weight cut also played a factor in his performance. Maybe he could have got the dub if not. Couple other notable finishes on the card we could talk about. Umar C. I'll go speed run. Alright, I'll go speed run. And I guess I can even show you guys. Okay, lower fights of the night. Umar C. He avenged himself. He came back. He made up for his loss in that last fight. Good shit on Umar C. First round knockout. Wasted no time. Took him down, ground and pounded his ass, and got him out of there quick. All right. Ante Delia, UFC debut, again, got him up out of there quick. Marcin Tybura, not an easy win or finish for anybody. Although he's lost his fair share in the UFC, he's not an easy guy to put out like that, especially in the first. Real durable guy. Ante Delia immediately hops into the heavyweight top 10. Even surpasses his teammate Mick Parkin in his debut. So Ante Delia, you can throw him up against anybody in the top 5, top 10. He can fight down a little bit since he just fucking skyrocketed to the top. Kawhi Fernandez, Harry Hardwick. Apparently, Harry's fighting a weight class above. So he didn't have a camp. Harry's a 145er. So that makes sense why he couldn't really handle those leg kicks. Kawhi makes sense why he fucking damaged the fuck out of Harry's leg, because he also comes from none other than Jose Aldo's camp. So, Dede Petinaris and those guys over there, elite leg kickers. So no surprise here from Kawhi Fernandez getting the finish with the leg kicks. Destroyed both of Harry's legs, both of them. Sam Patterson, Trey Waters, we're talking about 2 tall glasses of water here. And Sam Patterson put Trey out cold, standing. Another first round finish. So these were 3 crazy first round finishes. Actually 4, bro. Umar, Ante, Kawhi, Sam Patterson. These were crazy finishes, bro. I'm telling you. They were great finishes. Robert Brycek, Brad Tavares. Moral of the story here, Coach Eric Nixick gotta go, bro. Eric Nixick gotta go. Eric Nixick gotta go. He ain't helping your fighters out. I'm telling you guys. I don't know why you guys are there. You know it just as well as me. You can hate me. You could whatever you want to do, bro. But you guys know it as well as me. We don't even have to discuss it. It's not even a debate. There's no reason why any fighter out there should be training with Eric Nixick. He doesn't know martial arts. Okay? He doesn't know it. And he could never know it. Alright? He's a football player. He spent his first 22 years of life playing football, bro. Then the next probably 5 or 6 training just jiu-jitsu. He's not an MMA guy. He's low-key a fraud. He's better off managing Extreme Couture and facilitating coaches. But I think he's not doing that because he wants the clout. I think he knows he should be facilitating, managing Extreme Couture. But instead of managing Extreme Couture and bringing in better coaches for his fighters, he wants the clout. He should be bringing in better coaches for his fighters, like a freaking the owner of ATT. And not to say Nixick's the owner of Extreme, but be a manager, bro. Realize your role. Renat Gustafsson, didn't really watch that fight and didn't watch the Shanaban and Sam Hughes fight. So that's the post-fight show. Brycek is 1-1 in the UFC, so he's a former Octagon guy as well. And Brycek was like 4-3 in Octagon, so I don't know, 35 years old, man. Tavares fucking sold that one, it seems like. What do you guys think? Ian Gary's wife snapping a pic of Carlos and him, filming a little video. Too good. Shout out to Layla Gary. Shout out to Layla Machado Gary. Let me see. Yep, that's pretty much the storylines coming out of this fight. I'm gonna peep a couple more pages, see if there's anything. If not, we'll just get out of here early. And that's the other thing too. It's like tonight's card was fucking amazing, right? But where's all the talking points? Where's all the storylines? There were a lot of finishes, yes. But I think there's more that makes a event a success too. It's a full picture, storylines, quality of bouts, I think is important, finishes, hometown crowd support, You know, UFC Paris had the hometown crowd support. They had the finishes. You know, they did have decent bouts. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it wasn't super high profile because it's a fight night. So manage your expectations. And then, you know, there's not very much storylines coming out of it. So, you know, it could have been. It was great. Great card. Still could have been, you know, room for improvement, I guess you could say. Now, I guess there's this clip that just popped up. I guess we can take a look real quick. I'm just gathering some stuff real quick. Okay. We got some new bookmarks. Let's start with this one.
Just gonna stay here. You said after the fight, you said there's no other option for me than the title shot. Obviously, we've got that fight in Vancouver, so will you even go out there to watch that fight, or are you just gonna stay here?
Ok, j'étais pas au courant. Enfin, j'ai vu qu'ils avaient annoncé, mais je savais pas où est-ce qu'ils combattaient. Non, c'est moi le prochain. Je m'inquiète même pas pour ce combat.
Yeah, I'm the next. I'm not even worried about the next fight. I mean, you have to be realist, and no one did what I did for the last year, and I just you know, five opponents, 5 top 10 guys, 2 finishes. I mean, no one did that.
You said after the fight, you said there's.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say, right? 5 top 10 guys, man, in a row. 5 top 10 guys. That's not what Fluffy's done, and that's not what RDR's done. It's just a simple fact. 5 top 10 guys. 5 top 10 guys. 2 finishes. I'm with Nassourdine, bro. There ain't no need to even politic, bro. You feed into that. The more you feed into that, the worse it goes. No need to politic. You are next. Why the fuck would you go sit there for RDR versus Fluffy? You're next, bro. You versus Khamzat. Just continue calling him out. You are next. You could have sat on your ass already, bro. You could have sat on your ass already after that Izzy win. And you're still fighting Caio. Because Caio did a good job in the media getting you to fight him. So, Imavov is next, brother. We're not going to watch that. I'm going to watch this one on my own time. Joe Rogan, Fight Companion. But there is a clip from Fight Companion. Oh, wait. This is a 18-minute clip, or 18-second clip. Wait a minute. There's an MMA vaccine? We have to watch this real quick. I think this is the last thing. Although David Shaw, I just was going to point this out to you guys. David Shaw says that pay-per-view still exists in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a bunch of other places. We probably won't increase the number of, let's say, European or Middle East primetime numbered events anytime soon. Whatever.
Ask you a question, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Scientist, are you saying that we shouldn't
Don't
have...
do that. Don't call me Mr. Scientist. I'll start mocking you, and it's so much easier to mock you.
So are we not... So you don't believe in vaccines? You don't think we should have vaccines?
It's not that I don't believe in vaccines.
What are you saying?
It's I
shouldn't have
don't think you
74.
should give a kid a Hep B vaccine when they're a baby.
Different subject.
I don't, no, you have to, MMA vaccine is absolutely connected to a host of serious, debilitating fucking problems that kids have gotten from them. There's a lot of problems because they don't test vaccines in a double-blind, placebo-controlled setting.
Hold it.
They test them against other vaccines. You know that, right?
Yes, I do. Excuse me. Let me just say something. Yes, you're right. You can make the argument for Hep B. Here's why. Because the chances of a child coming in contact with the kind of activity that causes Hep B is different. So now you say,
Sexually
hold on,
transmitted disease and
right.
needles.
So now you
Yeah.
say this. That chance is zero. The chance for vaccine injury with the Hep B is not zero. Is non-zero. Okay, so I understand that math. Okay, what I'm trying to say to you is that there are certain diseases. Pick up a history book. Smallpox. Diphtheria, mumps.
Have you ever looked at
tetanus,
how-
polio, paralytic diseases?
Have you ever polio? Please
Yes.
stop.
No,
You
I
don't-
won't. I won't. I know you think it's just- I've read- I've heard Susan Humphreys.
This is a long conversation that we're not going to have on this podcast
Right.
because I'm going to get angry because I've researched this for years.
Right.
Let's just.
But you're not a scientist.
I don't have to be a scientist
do.
to know that.
Yes, you do.
No, Brian, shut the fuck up. I don't have to be a scientist to read research to understand that they were spraying DDT all over the fucking country when everybody was getting polio. Do you know that?
Yes,
you know
I do.
the first
Yes, I
instances
do.
of polio, they happened in rural communities where they were all farmland and agriculture, and then cows were getting them, and horses were getting them, and dogs were getting them.
Let me make a statement.
They were calling it paralytic polio.
Do you agree with the following statement? It's not just.
I'm not going to do this with you,
but
Brian.
it's not just about.
I brought up
It's not
vaccines,
just
so that'd
about.
be a
Hold
fun
on,
debate.
hold on, Joe.
No,
It's
Brian, I don't want to
ju-
do this with
but
you.
it's not
I don't
just
wanna do this.
about.
We're in
is
the
it-
middle of a fight companion.
All right.
It's annoying.
All right, but it's like. I don't get it. Yeah. And being
See,
anti-vax.
but
Being
be- but be-
anti-vax
No
is
one's
irresponsible.
anti-vax,
It's not
Brian.
anti-vax. Questioning why there's so many though.
My kids are all vaccinated, and they're vaccinated, but they went on a delayed schedule. They delayed
So did
schedule.
mine. So did
you're
mine.
not.
So did
You're
mine.
not?
No, you're not. No.
Yeah, good for you. I don't think you need to.
No, they're healthy as fuck.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, they have 12 touchdowns this week. 2 home runs.
I think the problem is that the pharmaceutical drug companies have an exemption because of what they did in the 1980s with Reagan, where they allowed them to never worry about being sued. And that's when they ramped up the fucking schedule. And that's also the correlation. When you look at all the fucking host of all sorts of diseases and issues
Just
that
look
start
at
happening with kids.
autism. It's through the
Autism
fucking
is just
roof.
one. There's a lot of other autoimmune issues. There's a lot of like serious problems.
I think there are 3 things that have pushed us beyond our biology, and the reason we don't have a lot of children dying: nutrition, sanitation, and vaccines. And I think anybody who says otherwise is, I think it's crazy.
But you can't say all vaccines be.
I didn't say all vaccines.
But
I
he's not saying all
I get very
vaccines.
worried when
But
people
he's not
start
saying all
saying
vaccines.
It sounds like he is.
Brian, you don't know what the fuck I'm saying. You don't.
Well, I know because you don't want to talk about it.
Brian, I don't want to talk about it in the middle of a podcast because it'll completely derail the podcast. And I'll start showing you statistics. If you look at when people stop getting all of these diseases and then when the introduction of vaccines happen, it's at the end, after the disease has already gone through the population. Most of those diseases were eradicated by sanitation and nutrition.
Yes,
There was a
that's correct.
huge problem in this country. People were living in fucking squalor.
I agree, but there's still pathogens that are very dangerous.
Sure there are.
So-
Brian.
so-
the problem is that these pharmaceutical drug companies are fucking insanely, entirely corrupt. They have been corrupt for a long fucking time, and there's a revolving door between the FDA and these pharmaceutical drug corporations. They go from the FDA into these positions. They have this golden parachute, and then they ramp up the fucking schedule every year, and it's not about public health. None of it is about looking out for you. All of it is about making money. That's the problem.